Free press was started in 2003 to amplify the public's voice in crucial debates over the future of the media. At the time, there were a handful of public interest lawyers in D.C. and a few local groups, but there was no nationwide organization connecting the broader public with what's happening in Washington. That's why free press was needed. We've engaged millions of Americans in crucial media policy debates over internet freedom, press freedom, media consolidation, and public accountability. And we've started to make media reform a bona fide political issue in the United States. At Free Press, we want to create a media system that gives people the information and opportunities they need to tell their own stories, to hold their leaders accountable, and actively participate in their democracy. Free Press seeks to amplify the public's voice in Washington debates over the future of the media and the internet. But these crucial debates, which are happening right now, need to be brought outside the Beltway and around our kitchen tables. That's the first step in building both the constituency and the political will to create a media system that actually serves all Americans. Until Free Press started, policymakers heard little about the failing U.S. media system from the public. But we've challenged the most egregious corporate and governmental attacks on the open internet, quality journalism, and public broadcasting. Time and again, we've taken on some of the most powerful companies in Washington and won. Free Press is unique in combining deep policy knowledge, Washington lobbying, and media outreach with broad public education efforts and innovative organizing strategies, both online and off. We also remain independent of any industry groups, political parties, or the government, so we can tell it like it is. We're committed to an outside-inside strategy. We start by building the intellectual and legal arguments for change, conducting in-depth research, filing comments at agencies like the Federal Communications Commission, going to court, and talking to the press. At the same time, we engage our large and committed activist base with creative online campaigns. We build diverse coalitions, put activists face-to-face with policymakers, and turn those officials into champions. Success comes from using our insider information and innovative technology to find and seize moments when targeted activism efforts and public attention can make a real difference. We measure our success based on concrete victories and campaign progress, laws passed, rules made, and bad decisions prevented. We monitor how often policymakers cite our research and legal arguments. We track stories about our work in the media and measure our growing reach online and in social media. We also look closely at activist engagement, not just the size of our email list or response rates, but the types of actions our supporters take. We work to move them from signing a single petition to attending an event to meeting with a member of Congress and more. When you claim to work for the public interest in Washington, people often assume you're fronting for one industry or another. Free Press doesn't take money from industries we monitor, the government or political parties. We work with and criticize both sides of the aisle. Many times, Free Press has faced a choice about whether to hold our fire to maintain access or to speak out when policymakers didn't live up to their promises. In the end, we aren't really interested in right versus left. What we care about is right and wrong. Free Press has impeded runaway media consolidation, repeatedly thwarting attempts to increase how much media one company can own. We've also fought numerous attacks on public broadcasting, rallying millions against proposed funding cuts in Congress. We rallied millions more around the issue of net neutrality, the fundamental principle that ensures when you go online, you'll have access to all information without discrimination. We helped defeat SOPA and PIPA, a pair of dangerous web censorship bills that were sunk after 10 million people contacted Congress. And we brought together groups from across the political spectrum to oppose unchecked government and corporate surveillance in the StopWatching.us coalition. Inside the Beltway, we're often outspent and outnumbered. When one of our corporate opponents tried to get all of their lobbyists together, no one's office was big enough, so they had to rent out a movie theater. Free Press and our allies, on the other hand, can still share a taxi. The four biggest phone and cable companies and their trade associations spend upwards of $100 million a year to hire nearly 500 lobbyists. We have two. But organized people can defeat organized money. Our challenge is to bring people into these debates, people who've historically been left out, and translate issues in a way that resonates. Our job is to expand Washington's hopelessly narrow view of what's possible. We'll never match the wealth of our industry opposition, but we believe that with increased staff capacity, we can outwork and outsmart them. With new support, we'll add another public interest lobbyist on Capitol Hill who could focus solely on congressional strategy and champion building. Additional resources will also enable us to ramp up our member engagement efforts, deploying organizers to identify and empower super activists in key congressional districts. We'll also build our legal fellowship program, bringing in talented young lawyers to practice media and communications law in the public interest. We want to expand our work to end unconstitutional spying and surveillance. This could be the defining internet freedom and civil liberties battle of the next decade. Meanwhile, journalists are increasingly under attack just for doing their jobs. We want to lead a national campaign about the public stake in press freedom and how to protect journalism in a networked age. Lastly, we want to expand our work to build a global movement for internet and press freedom. We could better strategize with an emerging network of international organizations and share our experience with allies starting groups in their own countries.